Attention! Immediately stop and pause this video and read the following disclaimer. If you are visually impaired, then have a trustworthy individual read the disclaimer for you. You must read the entire disclaimer, otherwise you automatically stipulate to being bound by the terms of the following disclaimer.
Hello again. This is video 5 in the System Unmasked series. Before I get started, there's a whole lot going on, as I expected, with this Biden election, and these elections are all set up. They know who's going to win. They knew Trump was going to only be a one-man president, in spite of all this pretending that this takeover attempt and all this crap is all. It's already preordained. And he is being used because Jesus' successor, or the second messenger, has returned, and they use it as a broadcasting tool. And indeed, all things that happen are basically all this, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle thing. This is all you see, like almost like 10. I was scrolling the other day. There was almost like 10 pages of that. Like it's almost like exclusive. We got even ditched Kim Kardashian, and there was so many pages. It was hard to believe. It's all as mentioned before. It's all a broadcasting tool to disseminate information. And indeed, all these tragedies, everything that happens is really basically that. It's not some, mostly, maybe there are some niche occurrences, but for the most part, it's all about broadcasting information. And all these shootings, all this other stuff, which really, the court system is absent in all this, because it really should be brought to court that you're trying to blame all these shootings on somebody when it really the real reason is all that. And so getting back to what I was saying, I've been under siege. I'm doing so many things that this series is not going to come off. I already know it's not coming off perfect because it really needs a re-edit, and I'm not sure I'll ever get to do that, but if I ever do it, I'm sure it'll turn out much better, because now I got the material that I can redo. And I have the equipment I got is it's a nice little camcorder or whatever, but the sound is terrible. I mean, the sound needs to be tweaked before. It doesn't sound too bad once I tweak it, but it's just a big, this whole editing thing is horrible. I recommend people go out and buy an editor if they're planning on doing these videos, because they're really, with free stuff, they really make you, not only make you work for it, they also don't give you what you need, and it becomes a really torturous thing, to splicing videos and editing sound and all that. It does give you a good education about video editing, and that's kind of what I'm doing, but on the other hand, for anybody really serious about making these videos, and they're extremely tough to get views, so that also is, I don't know, you have to really do marketing. It's really impossible. And this Trump thing is being used. What it is just the next lead-in to the next screwing the messenger has returned, and to screw this person. It's actually a male. This is based on all indirect evidence that I've gathered. And what it is to keep an ever-ending cycle of screwing over and just making hopeless, and interfering with God's message. These are infinite consequences for doing this, but people think this is like a really time to play, and it really isn't. It's a very serious matter. We're at DEFCON 1. That's how serious it is, no matter who's in office. So that's how serious, because, hey, well, let me say that, yeah, it's all like you know, it would be like if you got done wrecking somebody's, you know, sports career or something for 5 years, and then you put a new coach in, and now they got a whole new way of wrecking their the rest another 5 years, and it keeps going on. You know, that's getting old. You know, that's getting old. And you pay the, you know what, the people pay the price for this, because it's clearly written in the Bible that they're gonna. It's the portion that that your portion is going to be given to somebody else, and that's very clear in the Bible that whatever you do, and that's why these liberals all going through this, and you know, like Republicans, the same shit, doing stuff like this. You know, that's why they cause all these problems, because they're crying, you know, and make it tough for people doing the same thing. Because I know I go through the same thing. I'm working like a dog, and then they're giving it to somebody else, you know, and railroading people out of their jobs and stuff like that, giving it all the good stuff to other people, and hold on one second here. Let me press this a little bit here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very familiar with that myself, because I've gotten railroaded out of many places, things and places, just because of that. But that's what the unfortunate people cannot do that, because they're not perfect. That's where the difference. This is what the whole crux of this whole thing is. They don't understand that they're not perfect. They're not on every atom, molecule, etc., subatomic particle like God is. It's all the time on everything. Mankind is like, has to build up. Yeah, actually, mankind is, if you have like a math problem, there'll be a limit as time approaches infinity. Mankind does kind of become a god. You know, who knows? Maybe it could be God. We don't know. But then again, it might not be a reachable status. And that's where the problem comes in. Is oops, let me interject this also. I see before you read this video or this video, you shouldn't read the disclaimer and everything. It already says that, but I'll say it again. Okay, so mankind approaches God, but never gets there, as far as we know. I mean, and this happens is a constant flaw of mankind, where they try to be a god. It's like Trump, who wants to be a god. You know, I assume that Joe Biden is the same complex. Every person that has this complex. You know, especially in big organizations like the government, they're always thinking like they're a god, and they're not. That's where the problem is. They're not perfect. You don't want to be a god, you have to be perfect, because you have to be doing everything right. And that's where the problem is. They get off on that where they shouldn't. Yeah, they should be the opposite of that. You're saying, I'm not perfect, and let me keep trying to do the best I can. That's the way it should be, and the Bible reinforces that. Anyway, so that's that part there. And I've been under siege here because we got an unusual event. Usually what happens is this. I'm going to get to the material I was supposed to cover, but I'm kind of doing a little preambling here. Usually what happens is you go through one presidency, and then you go through the next. And before the presidency, for like approximately a year before, and then approximately a year after, is this period where they're already lining themselves up, where you see businesses moving and places being remodeled, and they're already doing a year ahead. They know who's going to win already. They know it. You know, it's like if they knew Biden was getting in there, and they're all of a sudden building like 3 or 4 hospitals, you know, which would seem kind of, you know, to be milking all this money out of it. That would be kind of like what they were. That's why they know. They know when to build and all that other stuff. So people all know, it's not any kind of secret. So that's baloney, and voting is really baloney. I'm not saying it is in this system we live in, because if 3 people showed up, the same person would still win, because they would force 2 people to vote this way or else, and so they would still do it. And that's what happens. People, obviously that's going to be a matter of big conjecture, but it isn't. That's the way it is. So we've gone through this process again. Now this is a little unusual because Obama was there for 4 years and then Trump, but they still knew that was going to happen. So in these 10 years, it's 8 years for the presidency, and then these 2 years. 2 years of all this aligning and moving and everything else. That that occurs all the time, and you know what? It leaves me moving and running all over the place and dodging. You go to a place, and then all of a sudden it's all revamped. So now you're living like we're going through this white people's world thing now, where we're going from. And this is what happened in the last neighborhood I lived in. You go in with all these black people, and all of a sudden now it's turning a white neighborhood. Not black people, but black acting people, I should say, and then a white type of thing. Because this is all a plan. That's what I'm saying. It's all a plan, just like the border. This is a big thing, the border right now with Mexico, because they let the Mexicans do whatever they want, okay? And this happens is not race specific. They do with black people where they get their 8 years, actually I said the 10 years of getting mostly their way. And then what happens is they turn it all around, and now we're in the white people's world. So these people are really angry, that they're not getting their way anymore. And who's the person that, it's people like me, these people in the middle that get the brunt of it. Other people go along with this stuff or, move out or whatever. So it looks like the neighborhood didn't change much, but it really did. And this is what's happening right now with the Trump and Biden fiasco. And it was all a plan. It's all a plan designed to keep upsetting the apple cart over and over and over again. Like people say, well, why didn't you move in December of 2020 if you thought all this has been? Yeah, right. Well, you got Trump playing dictator, like this bogus dictator thing, and that's all to make it like you move to another area and you can get shot. With all these angry right-wing Republican things or whatever, vice versa. It could be gangs or something, if it was the other way around. If the president was, Obama or something, and then, was playing dictator, then all these, and didn't win, then it would be, this is the other way around, gangs and all these left-wing people, or whatever. Or whoever is left-wing. I don't know if they are or not. So, kind of been under siege, and I'm sure other people are, and it's to constantly keep pressure and pressure and pressure on. That's what it is. Constantly pressure. And so that's about the scoop of that. And I'm trying to alleviate these kind of pressures with people, but they really don't want to. Because, I'm sorry, folks, but you want to keep this going because you don't. It spurs jobs. It spurs people now are important that weren't even worth a look at. I think General Patton sums it up in the movie, he's talking about World War III, and he says nothing is reaffirmed, there's no heroes, there's no winners or losers. Highly recommendable, great movie, Patton. And that's kind of what, unfortunately, yes, that's true, but, I live a much more boring, practical world than this ramping up this hero, and it's constantly a bipolar or affective disorder where they're ramping up. Now look at the Biden thing. He's passing bill after bill, and I'm not saying the relief package is very necessary, because these rich people are just are in total control of us. But see, that's the thing. It's kind of a trick thing because you spend all the money, and now they're going to be saying, "Oh my God, we got to cut back and all this." And that's another thing. The Democrats should be brought into court because they want to raise this $15 minimum wage, but that screws the poor over because now everything's expensive, and the rich take it out of the just raise the prices. So really, the Democrats is the greatest Republican party we have. You know, and you can say the same thing about Republicans. They just like help them out. It's the opposite of what is thought, or you know, what is portrayed. Because you're really you're screwing the poor there, and all these people got these cushy middle class jobs and stuff, benefits, and all this other shit. You know, so these changes they make are just really negative somewhat. But like I said, people need money, and like the people are getting the stimulus are got huge incomes. So I think it's like you know, it's kind of giving away money to people that got a lot of money already or are doing really well. But anyway, I guess overall it's you know, important to get the stimulus. I can't say, you know, it didn't hurt me any. It was pretty good, you know. So so in a nutshell, that's all that. Now, getting to these topics, like I said, we're on the topic part of my discussion, which is where it started to get good. And first, let me say that the first topic here is, wouldn't it be funny now to turn this public appearance around and get something on them to make them the villain? And that's I just hate doing mankind's job for, because this religious thing is constantly in play, but people pretend like there isn't because they got their lace in the hole, their religious power, and that's causes that needs to be explained away, because people can't. That's what helped cause 9/11. Actually, probably you could say caused. All these other acts of people running around shooting each other everything boils down to religion. It's not about this bullshit. Is just a bunch of crap. Again, you know, if I could bring somebody into court, I would be in court all for the rest of my life, because you're trying to blame stuff on something that really isn't the reason, and that's liability, harm, and all kinds of other lesser or more charges. But it never happens, because the courts are filled up with evictions, landlords, and all this other bogus lawsuits. It's all an effort to stop any kind of forward progress or make progress on any of these issues. And you say for ditto for the cops, and all this, the system is constantly trying to load up on bogus bullshit, so real things do never get solved. That's all it is, really. You know, because they're afraid that if they did solve all that, then their job would disappear, and then they would not. And like I said about the patent thing, they wouldn't be a hero. They wouldn't be on stage. You know, their family wouldn't be on stage. Harry and Meghan Markle wouldn't be on stage. None of these things would happen. Markle would have on stage. You know, I don't know what to say. I'm not trying to degrade anybody and have them live like a dweeb, because sometimes it's almost better with all these things going on. You feel, you know, it gives you a good feeling about it. However, that is never going to work, and if people want to ever get to an advanced society, then that's going to have to go with religion. As this religious thing, and that's kind of really what my whole series is. The religious subsystem is never exposed, because people don't want to give it up. You know, they want to walk around playing drug addict and, you know, being a dickwad, and, you know, and the same ditto for the legal system and corporations. They don't want to be like the big swaggering around. But you're playing around with somebody's life. It's something the Bible and other teachings tell us, that you don't have a right in other people's lives. You could do whatever you want. You know, you could go woo and skydive naked off of you know, the Empire State Building, and you know, impale your butt on a stick sticking out of another building or something. You could do that as long as you don't harm other people. But that's where the problem is when other people are involved. All of a sudden, that's where God gets involved. You know, it sounds like a Joe Friday thing from Dragnet. You know, that's where I get involved. A police officer or whatever. That's where the thing is. You know, Um, so anyway, getting back to this turning things around, trying to do something good here with my video, and it's gonna, they're gonna try to make me out as some kind of retard. It all happens all the time. In fact, in these living in these apartment complexes, you got people hearing this shit and then run around to the desk and telling everybody, and then whatever they want to do, they get away with. Once you can make you out as some kind of retard, then it's like, that's like a person on benefits or something telling the cops something. Hey, are you in benefits? Yep. Goodbye. You're some kind of retard, or things like that. Once they could get something on you, then it's used against you. And that's a shame, because mankind is shirking its responsibility in this religion thing. Once you describe what the hell's going on under the surface, that ends everything. We don't have to worry. That ends all things, because every time when you get somebody doing something, then you say, well, hey, look, we know what you're doing. You went out and shot a grandmother and her 3 kids. We know what the hell it's all about. Once you could do that, then you can give them the death penalty. I mean, with no problem. See, but if you don't, well, then you're just part of it. You're just promoting the same thing. You're really making this big mishmash of everything, where you're really hard to say that to anybody. Like I said once before, it's like it's like telling South America, hey, you're cutting down the rainforest, which is extremely important, but yet the United States or other countries is plowing off with reckless abandon. That's why I say, hey, hold on a second here, Big Hank. You're plowing off shit. You're never gonna be able to tell other places that are important that they're doing something wrong. So by making this video, the whole thing, usually what always happens occurs over and over again. I'm made out as some kind of moron, and everybody else gets to be living all happily ever after. I got it written up here. I got razor pointer. The system wants martyrs to do the dirty work, knocking ourselves out, and then ... Yeah, after I do all this stuff, trying to do people's job for them, but they're shirking their responsibilities. After I do, like with this series here, after I do, what it is I'm self-indicting myself as some kind of nut making these videos. Well, I mean, if you listen to what mankind says, it's true. If you believe what people say, then that's what I'm doing. But I'm not. I'm the hero. I'm the good guy. In like Sudden Impact, I believe it's, it was, I think it was Sudden Impact where, Magnum Force in the Dirty Harry movie, where, Dirty Harry is, he gets up there, and in a target practice with another cop, another is like stellar pistol shooter, and so is Dirty Harry, and they're shooting it out at a target range, and on purpose, Dirty Harry, and the last target, like he shoots the cop, it pops up, those cardboard things. And then the guy, it's really one of the best parts of the movie, and there's a young guy in the audience, the last one was a good guy. He shot a good guy, or something like that. I think Dirty Harry did it on purpose to show everybody, like, that this guy he suspected is one of these cops goes around killing people. Like doing vigilante justice. And so I'm the big guy, and I'm always getting screwed over by this. And that's what? People always making noise, being irritating. You usually got to be not only written out of this universe, but written in, and it's not going to be good, because God is the one that says about all these issues about where we live and whatever. So you being irritating, this is the wrong time. I'm telling you, I could go maybe a little bit on that later. So anyway, all right. So I'll just be self-indicting myself here. Now, getting in here, getting nowhere, while rich are getting richer, and loser types are living high on the hog. And while we be dying. I guess it's a little maybe the way a blind person would talk, but we be dying is the truth. So, and these people living high and hard are awful aggravating. They really can be really awful aggravating. So the these people living on high in the hog and being aggravating are really a lot of them don't have any injuries and they should be working. You know, I worked in a factory a lot of times, and actually factory work isn't. I think it's you know, there's a lot of jobs that really suck, but usually there's a person that likes that kind of shit anyway. So you give them into something they like. Factory jobs are you know are good. I mean I found them that were pretty a lot of fun. You know. I'm not sure it's China where you got people, you know, forcing you at gunpoint to make something for a quarter an hour or something. Well, that's where the thing like Trump is make America great again. That is really on the borderline. If you read into what it sounds like it says, it's like all these minorities and stuff are like we're just like you know, made things bad and everything, and forgetting that all these, basically these white business people that sold the country to China. I mean, that's what happened. That's what it should be saying. You know, he was like he's going to try to do something to China, you know. Now we're just like in a big mess. If you do anything, like China is so important now that if you do anything a mess, it's going to really make a mess. And I must say a thing about the Chinese. There's so many things to be enamored by their society that they just do so many things. Like have been, I mean, like they got. I think they even like started spaghetti. It wasn't the Italians, and they got Chinese food, fireworks. They came up with that, and they're really this electronic thing. They're just brilliant the way they bring stuff like new products and things like little things. And manufacturing things and kung fu. I mean, it's really weird. The whole thing is a dichotomy because on the other hand, you got like draconian overseership of their citizens, and you know, well, I mean, like I said, working 25 cents an hour or something, killing yourself, but that it's really weird. And then the pollution thing too. They're just like, I mean, these problems should all be solved. You should be able to get something at the store for a cheap quarter or something and still be environmentally sound. See, that's the danger of this country. It's called like the San Francisco way, where you're going to be paying the average price in San Francisco of a house is over $1 million, and you're going to be paying that. And the environment. Yeah, hey, dude, what about What about the person's life? You know, I mean, it was always better when you left the pollution. Really, to tell you the truth, and I'm not advocating for it, but you were almost better off living like one of these dirty, you know, old cities like England or Chicago or something where they had all these old factories belching up. I mean, or Gary, Indiana. That's a place that's you know, used to be filled with all kinds of like acrid smoke and stuff. But anyway, I don't know about now, but it's just like, and it was always bad for this because all these, you're ramping up the pressure, all this economic stuff. I mean, you know, because economics and safety and environment stuff don't mix. But anyway, the Chinese are brilliant. It's just a shame that it's weird that they could have so many brilliant things. Their list goes on, and yet have this whole other side to it. It's just amazing. But so basically, I'm self-indicting myself as some kind of nut by making this video when I'm really not, because this is the way things are, and people are so scared. It's called like the California scaredy cat. And in fact, this is what all this is about with Trump and all that. Trump, Hillary, they're focusing all the attention on California. Why? Because the second messenger after Jesus Christ, I believe, is there by putting all the evidence together. Now it's like we're right on the precipice of going on to something else, because they must be trying to get him out of there, because I could tell the pressure is on, because we fixed up Mexico. Before people just walk across to Mexico and that was it. It was, probably wonderful. But now they got all the borders, even Tijuana, Mexicali, I think, this place, and we got other things in the border all being shored up. Donald Trump with his wall thing, and so it has to do with Southern California, and that's the reason why Trump created it. Trump isn't bad-mouthing California. You know what he's doing? Anytime you get concentrating all this attention on California, he's trying to save California. Because people like him, and that's what California is. You got all these rich people own this land, and you can't, that's like Judaic Nazism, the stereotypical Judaic Nazism, where everything is so expensive like that. That's what he's doing. Look, he's a billionaire. That's exactly what he's doing. That's what Hillary was doing. What Hillary was doing was making this thing, or him and Hillary were doing was making this thing about the Electoral College. Hillary trying to abolish it or whatever, which is like the balance of power again. Electoral College keeps the states more even, because no one big state like California is going to run away with anything. So really, you're just concentrating all this effort on it, and now it's like, I owe you one now. Well, we could do away with the Electoral College. Now we're going to, let California be the nuts or whatever. And that's what they're doing. They're protecting California from being broken up, because there's a lot of people that want to break California up because of this drug. It's all one, Seattle, Oregon, California, and then some of these other states, all one big, almost like a country almost. That's what, like, California is they've legalized marijuana. They're just trying to, and that's what all this concern is. Well, I really covered material I was supposed to cover in another video, but see, that's the thing about letting these people go into the Middle East, is now the East part, they're trying to get away from that, the Middle East, and now trying to make the West this big drug thing. So you get from the opium fields to the big Mexico thing. And hey, if you want to do that, don't catch me in the crossfire, but you know what? That's never happened. These drug things, neighborhoods and stuff, get really dangerous, and I don't want to even be involved in it, because it could go bad in a hurry. Drug people are always looking for somebody as an excuse to distract attention off them freaking selves and shit. Saying shit, running around apartment managers or hotel managers and saying something. They always want to just trying to weasel a lot of shit themselves. So anyway, wow, that really went into some stuff. But again, let me go back to this topic. All right, let me get onto the topic. I got like 60 pages of stuff, or 30 pages, double-sided pages of this material, and that'll kind of be the end for my series, unless I think of something else. But for right now, I'm under siege with a lot of things going on. So this is like taking a little time out, because obviously I haven't done anything for a while. So, but wouldn't it be funny now that turn this person's public appearance around and get something on them to make them the villain? Again, that's what that all refers to back there. I'm doing the martyr's work, and then you actually get kicked in the ass twice. I don't even want to be doing this, but it's important that people do that. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to off the candy ass and do it. And I do, and then I always get taking the fall for it. Because the government, these companies, they award people like that. They really, and other people in society or individuals, they do constantly. Because they're too freaking scared to get off their ass. It's nothing to do about work. It's about doing. We could all sit around and lay around all day if people did what they needed to do. Yeah, it's not about work. Nazism is a bad thing because it's. I mean, work is a good thing, but when work is used to stop any good positive thing, then it becomes a negative thing. That's why Nazism is stupid. No matter what you do, if you work and you work, if you first worked on this problem like I do, and then you want to work, 40 hours, whatever, then you'd be the hero. But people are not, because the Nazism is just bullshit. Just like any other race is bullshit. So, my video presentations are a perfect example about this thing back here. I cringed to the thought of making them. Now I'm going on my what I got written here. Yet I realize that they are of the utmost importance, and they are, because everything could be abstracted away, but religion is not, because that's what this is all about. What's the cringing about? It is about the consequences. As to this day, anything I do like this is usually results in some kind of mental retard assault on my character, to where instead of getting a Nobel Peace Prize, I'm given grief. And this happens always, not just me, but whoever tries to do anything. It doesn't have to be even a lot. It could just be a little. This is what I'm doing a lot. Or it could be a little bit, and they still, even the slightest twinge of trying to correct this is looked upon as, dimly. That's why I haven't done anything of this nature before. I never did, because I know it's gonna. You know what? Now you're indicting yourself on video and audio. So whatever somebody wants to get away with, they're going to be pointing to that. You could have a nutty family that wants to indict you or something. It doesn't have to be. The families have been a huge impediment to this country, and has nearly caused its downfall. So not just anything. It could be the family is another big thing, because the family's got the inside track in your life, and that could cause a lot of grief. Run around the authorities and saying shit about you, and that carries a lot of weight, because they're, it makes them look like, well, we know this person even more. It's more dangerous than an individual. So it has to be closely watched, and anybody thinking that any kind of thoughts like that needs to be silenced some way, taken to court, or some other way of getting them, because it really poses a danger to any future progress. So disseminating information, and I'm talking about the real truth, because other kinds of shit doesn't, conspiracy theories and all this bullshit doesn't matter, so disseminating this information like I am doing could easily lead to my harm or institutionalization, prison, nut house, etc., or some kind of other consequences. And that would be just to shut me up, because people routinely do not like this. They're like little Putins or something. They don't want, it's the same bullshit. They don't want anybody saying anything. So we'll know what I am saying is true by indirect evidence. You see it all the time. Things are going great. The coup de, I'm not sure it's called the coup de grace. I thought it's called the coup de grace. That's the blow that kills mercifully, like I think in fencing. The final nail in the coffin that changes the system for good and forever. And oops, we are now on an entirely new venue that becomes the front and center of every morsel of media attention. And this attention phase shifting is called. You're shifting the focus, which happens all the time. That's why you go to, who was it before? It was like Mariah Carey or something, or Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Kim Kardashian. We kind of went through a whole slide of people. Now we're getting her and Kanye West were breaking up. Now we're starting with this Meghan Markle thing. So it just goes on to try to shift attention away from anything important. So this phase shifting now has set the whole program of rectifying the system back to square one. It seems that one of George W. Bush's sole purposes was to put into office well knowing that he was going to put oil back as our main source of energy. As alternative fuels were starting to get a foothold. And that's when Al Gore was in there. He's like running for president, and he's going like that. You know, they do that on purpose, you know, because he's not going to win. They're not going to win. They do stuff on purpose because they know they're not going to win. So they got to figure some way to get out of it, you know, to make it look like they didn't win. Because Al Gore was just, I mean, you know, he was lost on that. Because he could have won with this global warming and everything. And I know they badmouth Al Gore a lot about this global warming thing, or global climate change. But I voted for him, and then he lost. And he, you know, he's right about the global climate change, even though he's telling lies. It's still he has a point. I don't know if he's telling lies or whatever, but it's still important. Yeah, actually, well, see, a lot of these Democrats, this is bullshit because it's not this carbon footprint crap. You're like trying to expand the whole world and then say it has to do with carbon. You know, the carbon content of the world was like something at a certain time was like maybe almost 10 times as high as it was now, and it still survived. You cut down all the trees and shit, yeah, it's going to be a lot like so. It's this COT thing is a mythology, really. You know, I was supposed to cover that in another video. So, so anyway, getting back to when Al Gore was, it was like starting to be triumphant. Almost thought alternative fuels were coming, because I remember it was like watching squirming fish. The squirming fish being Bush and the oil people. It's like watching them being taken out of the fishbowl and were flailing on the floor as this alternative energy thing seemed to be making headway. I really thought it was starting to like build up a little bit, but I think they just bullshit because they knew that Al Gore wasn't going to win again, so they tried to make it look like it was, you know. So then, boom, the Gulf War again, and 9/11/2001, and boom, we were all back to square one. George W. Bush and others all breathe a sigh of relief. A side note as to why alternative energy has never kicked ass as far as fossil fuels are concerned has to do with mankind's retarded system, whereby each energy source, example oil, wind, solar, etc., has its own venue. And not only a venue, an entourage of people that deal with and followers with specific and differing agendas. I kind of want to explain it. I don't want to, you know, I don't really go into this because I'm doing mankind's job. Mankind's got to get off its ass, and I'm explaining all this stuff, and then I get abused, and then we'll switch to electric or something, and then I'm gonna get made look like an idiot. Like we all go through this. It's just really frustrating, you know. Like right now, cover-ups are going on with all the building and stuff, trying to cover up the past that didn't happen here, and that's the same thing, you know. Such and such places here. You say, what? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about, you know, or such thing. So these followers with specific and differing agendas are all related to the oil. Each thing in society has. It's not just like it's about an inanimate object. It's people group their behaviors around these things. I'm not going to really explain this right now. I should probably. Maybe at the end of this I'll do it here. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's the bottom gist of it is everybody, I mean, you know, it's like people in a light bulb factory, what do you think would be? Like these white people. You know, it's light, it's white. But, see, that's the thing, they mix in other things, like, you know, that's not set in stone, because they mix other things to where, you know, there's black people that believe in the white people ways, and, you know, it's a mishmash, but you would think that would be it. That's kind of like what I'm saying there. And all these other venues around the same kind of stupidity, where they don't revolve around people, but they revolve around people using these objects to make political statements that are beyond bizarre sometimes. You know, it gets out of control. You know, I could do that. I could work in a light bulb factory and say, yeah, I am for white people, but to a reasonable extent. And sometimes a reasonable extent of the law. Because, you know, like, you know, some people think, I work in a light factory, I'm white, I'm going to go string some black person up for fun on a weekend or something, you know. I mean, that's the kind of bizarre logic that I'm talking about. And everything else follows the same shit. And that's the same with, that's why global climate change gets out of control. Because nobody for reasons I just mentioned, nobody wants to switch to solar and wind, because a whole different venue starts up. And actually it's really a danger, because these things, people start getting this behavior from these things where they got their venue and they can do whatever they want. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about that, but the Bible clearly says when it comes to other people, you don't. So you got to temper your damn shit, you know. I mean, I've been a victim of this. Everybody's probably, I mean, not probably, but everybody has been affected by this. And not only that, the planet may go down someday, so we don't know. So, again, as I mentioned before, these are my written notes. It's like one day we were following Kim Kardashian, and the next, the hell with her, we were following Britney Spears once again. Actually, I'm just reiterating what I just said before. Once this crazy pattern of using inanimate objects, example solar, to create waves of idiotic political specific behavior ceases, then energy concerns will cease, as no one will give a hoot and holler about whatever energy source is being used. I mean, yeah, big deal, you know. Let's try to revolve things around people, not objects. And it's funny, ironic, because yeah, people as objects is why people get killed. They're just considered an object, and that's, you know, that's the bottom line indicator of that. That's exactly what you're worshiping objects, like almost like in the Bible. God tell you, don't worship idols, because what? They mean nothing. They're inanimate. Leads to inanimate behavior. So this theory of specific venues has strong evidence, as we see this in every field of endeavor, and is the reason why mankind's system never gets past the first grade. Some things don't need to be tweaked, such as leave the freaking guy, Gale, selling hot dogs at the baseball stadium alone, as this has been done for centuries, and there is no need to change. But climate change, on the other hand, may need to be addressed. Well, I got a little off topic, or way off topic on some of this stuff, but my other examples show how impossible it is to turn this world around, and thus an attempt is likely to be made at stopping me from any dissemination of the truth. In fact, you know, this world isn't as it seems. That's why it's impossible. You'd think that the president could get on there, right? And get on there. They're the most powerful. The president is the most powerful, right, in the country. But before they even got their mouth open, something would happen to them. They even get shot. So this world is not as it seems. As due to religion, people getting tipped off ahead of time. So whatever anybody does, it's no secret. And like my doing this, people will be running around talking. You know, yeah. Suppose you go, you're gonna spill the beans on something, and then when you walk out, like you're working in a factory or something, you're gonna spill the beans. But you know what? Right before you do, some worker stands right next to you. Hey, what's up, guy?
So that just tells everybody there is broad signal to the world that you're up to something. You're going to spill the beans, right? You put two and two together. Somebody yelling, like acting abnormal, and again, that's what the media is all about. All this abnormal behavior in the media is broadcasting information. That's the same story there. But yet, if you say anything about it, now you're a crazy person, because that's like a cop tactic, when they say something. Hey, I know a guy like you or a girl like you that, did that, or told a guy something, some cop something, and their face looked like a guy in a pizza grinder, they're trying to warn you that, hey, shut your freaking mouth, but you can't say anything because they didn't really say anything wrong. You don't know, you're assuming, it's not a court of law approval, you're assuming. I know what they're doing, or somebody else knows what you're doing. Especially if you have like intonations and, the way you say it, you growl, like, kind of grunt. But even if they do that, it's really not a court evidence, because so what? They might just be their way, or it might have a bad day, or etc. But in this world we got now is we start jumping logic jumps. We start, unless it's like maybe a pattern of behavior. I don't know. I don't want to comment on this because it's like getting way out there. But so that's it with that. So if you want to say something, you're going to become a martyr. If you want to, that's what they're going to do. And that process should have stopped a long time ago, but it didn't. So hopefully get better. I don't know. So moving on to the next topic. Once the people with religious powers are found and are discovered, then it's time to tee off time for organizations and individuals. This is kind of following this. This dangerous process is acutely going on now, but probably has gone on since the dawn of man. Our organizations emulate information of people with religious powers. That's emulation is what like the factory example I just gave, where you're going to spill the beans, and then somebody jumps up right next to you right before you're going to do it, and yells, yeah, shouts or whatever, and then everybody in the whole building knows you're going to tattle, on something. You might not even get home alive, At least if they didn't do that, you might spill the beans and then get home and then get killed, but that's it's called emulation. You're just emulating. I think it's emulating. That would be emulating because you're versus emulating what you're going to do. Computers do it. They emulate other computers. They're not made the same way, but they do the same thing, and that's what that's doing. And it happens all the time. And people like that should be deep sixed into prison or something because they wreck everything by opening their big freaking mouth. Especially as criminals do this all the time. They're just broadcasting to the government all the time. That's all they're doing. Criminals and the legal system are two peas in a pod, because they just broadcast information to the government, and they just probably set up listening devices and stuff, or surveillance, and they're just broadcasting to the government. So really, when criminals start crying about the government and everything, no, they're in bed with the government, and vice versa. That's another thing that has wrecked everything. Because when you talk about a Jesus type or the second messenger, you don't get that. You get zero chances to do that. It's like somebody beyond the president. It's like spitting in Hitler's face. You'd be in a concentration camp and dead in no time. That's about an analogy, and that's why Hitler was allowed to do that, because there was an example to the world about that. So this emulating out thing, getting back to that, is a play. It's a playing. People are playing God with ungod inspired devil-like behavior. That's what that is. Because they're wrecking everything. The good thing. No positive thing could happen with that going on. And it happens all the time. It's very annoying. And it's screwed this world, basically. You got a little time left here. We're DEFCON 1, I'm telling you. DEFCON 1 plus 1, 2, 3, etc. When you see some crazy story like Prince so-and-so jumps in the royal pool naked with thousands of reporters on hand, well, you know no one in power is going to jeopardize themselves doing this. So what this is doing is disseminating information about some religious persons. It might not be a person. It could be about Trump or it could be anybody, but usually it's about religion. Whenever information like this is gathered by people viewing the media, then that effectively neutralizes them, the good people of God. In other words, it's sort of like some jackass that beeps their horn every time, or whistles, or does something. They beep the horn every time you do a certain thing, unless the whole world knows your actions. Think you're going to be any kind of factor in anything? No, it's when everyone knows your habits, is child's play to stop your actions. That's like doing something to me. Like I'm making this video and just making all these. Actually, I'm not even making these videos, and then somebody running around trying to make myself out of some kind of kook. So like the batter that knows the fastball is coming, that's what this is all about. People know you're coming, though, then that ruins everything. Because they could just, spoil everything you're going to do. And to people, it's like a game show, and is the reason for all the antics of politicians and all other people, as they think that they are just going to use religious people while not making any progress reforming their own jackass behaviors. This world is not about a followership program, but a reformation program is what it should really be about. Something that gets a little attention. It's the Reformation program. It really gets a little fanfare. But there's a lot of stigma about Reformation. What the hell you mean by Reformation? I'm not talking about the way people want to reform things, because they do stupid shit to wreck. That's like saying you can't pick your teeth on Sundays with a toothpick. That's retarded, and it does absolutely nothing, and it causes people to go the other way. That's what I'm talking about. That's not meaningful reformation. The time to end this secret backdoor myth of religion by non-religious people is now. If not, don't expect good things. That's what we're getting now. This world is nearly at the 2-for-2 point of knocking off messengers from God, when humankind does not even get 0-for-0 chances, which I mentioned before, to kill a messenger. You didn't even have a 0 chance to kill Jesus. People think they're very misled about that. Before Jesus even got here, people shouldn't even have needed him. He's just to shore things up. People are thinking that that's not the way it is, but it is. This bullshit, Jesus died for our sins. Well, in a way he did, but he's a teacher and he's trying to shore things up. He's not, and the consequences are beyond Trump and any of these people. So, there's one level above them, and the consequences are infinite, and, consequences of Trump are not infinite. That's infinite. And nobody beats God, nobody. Which is a lesson that should have been learned from the book of Revelation in the Bible. Next topic here. This is a good thing. I'm kind of explaining the system again. Like I said, I didn't want to do it, but I am, because it's important. Why 2020 and what does 2021 mean? And I can go on for every other date, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just getting the gist of this. Significance of 2020 has come down to mean this. What is 2020? Well, we all know that 2020 has to do with the eye chart, right? In the U.S., our perfect vision at 20 feet, which we all strive for. So there is a a 20-20 on the right, if you're dissecting what this means, you know, like 20-20, right? There's a 20 on the right and a 20 on the left of this number, which makes the year 2020, which is just seeing certain persons' religious powers from the right, from both a right, which is the 20 right, and left, which is 20 left, perspective. This perspective, and thus an equal clarity by all types of people. You know, an example of this, you did it yourself, you know, you say, hey, you know, 2020, I see this person doing that, and I see you do it the left. 20, I see it clearly, and the right 20. You know, well, you know, that would show that you know everything about them and could broadcast their information all over. So that is the kind of thing mankind's dysfunctional system revolves around. Stupid things like this. This numbers, inanimate objects, all this bullshit that it revolves around, doesn't revolve around people. You know, and so that is what the coronavirus is most likely about, as it's a timing is perfecto mundo on time with this 2020 number worship program people have been on since mankind began. You know, a reasonable assumption that this has been going on for eons, you know, as long as mankind's almost been around here. That's why it is highly suspicious that this virus shows up now. Why? The why is that if you can stop religious people from traveling around, both in and out of the country in 2020, then this signals to the whole world to allow crooks and organizations to tee off on them, as if something happens to any of them, then those in charge are not going to look, you know, 2020 vision symbolism, you know. If some happens to them, the 2020, we're not going to look, see? And these kind of goofy things are, you know, we're not going to look at, and they're not going to protect them. And it could go the other way, too. You know, when they look at every little thing they're going to do, it will go the other way. You know, that's 2022. I mean, it's like yes and no part of it. And in that way, you get a bunch of nomads roaming around, doing whatever they want, as any religious input is squelched. This process has gone on over and over again, and it affects me too, as it makes doing anything much more difficult to do. As which example, traveling especially, is traveling to another area where someone may start something, you know. Because all these goofy things start something. And before I move on, you know what Trump is crying about with this dictatorship he's trying to create? But if he claimed he had information on this Wuhan, China, German warfare laboratory. He claimed. He says, yeah, wait till after the election. Well, if you were such a hero, he could have won the whole right? If he would have broadcast that, he would have won the election hands down. But he didn't. He pretended like he had some information, or maybe he did and he just didn't say. But he, creating a damn dictionary, you know, these people want to impeach him really have a point because, you know, if he was the big hero, he would have won the whole election, but now he's going to be crying and create a dictatorship. I mean, you know, he was supposed to be telling us that information. And then people would have voted for him, I'm sure. So it's bogus, you know. And this 2020 thing is all interconnected with that. So, anyway, getting back to this. So this religious phenomenon affects others too, not just me. As there are basically two types of people, homebodies and nomad drifters. And these nomad drifters think they have a lock on being able to drift around as they please, getting the legal system support to do this no matter what they do. I'm not saying that the homebody type, or some call them control freaks, because that's what they are, can be, you know, does not influence this as it does by trying to rid the area of these drifters sometimes. and sometimes goes too far in the ridding process. But don't involve me or God's people in the mess. That is, in neither war nor of the drifters versus home bodies. I think Jesus says this. You're not the disciple. He said, if you're not, one of the disciples said, you're not against us, you're for us. And that's the problem we got. The interactivity of this world and dynamic behavior is all negates that. It's all to get you involved into something, and it interferes with the whole religious process, which is all screwed up for these last 50 plus years here, which is basically causing the downfall of man. So if you're going to be hooking me and other people in this, you're making an infinitely grave mistake. Because basically, religious people are above Trump's pay grade. I mean, I'm above Trump's pay grade. People will be laughing and trying to make an example out of me, but that's the truth. Because John says in the Revelation, explains that there's a heavenly government which is above all this, and now you're like one of us. It's not mean anybody named John in the whole world. Everyone is going to be in this heavenly government. Just the specific case of John in the Bible, because he was so good. All these people, they have no power whatsoever, because in the end, like that song, it doesn't really matter. Well, guess what? For your erratic behavior, it ain't going to matter either, because people aren't going to be, they're not in charge. They just aren't in charge, because no matter what, they're one step below, no matter what they do. So America is not much a free country anymore, as one cannot always just go to where you want unless you don't mind the consequences. Also, there are those that may say your theory is great and all, but most other countries have replaced the foot with the meter, so your 20 becomes about 6 meters instead. So explain this, Buster Brown. Well, if you know carefully, the USA is the only country with this foot as a measurement, which even more amplifies the validity of the theory, since Jesus' successor is alive in the USA, and two, what other countries have the meter So what other countries have the meter as the real crux of the matter is signaling information about the USA. And since it is the only, in other words, with the other countries only have the meter, but the USA is the only one, so it's signaling information about the USA. And since it is the only country that has the foot, which is USA, then this magnifies everything to a pinpoint that points to the USA having Jesus' successor. And again, this goes back to the media thing. Why people do things screwy in the media, it's signal information. The foot thing signals information. So watch soon after 2020 election, sweeping changes will probably occur, such as replacing the foot with the meter, even when the foot is probably a much more handy measurement on a practical basis rather than scientific. As many things like bolts are easier to work with than with their metric counterparts, which are difficult to discern. And have to be like label on the top even, for even like, to get something right. Also things like extinction of coins, which are another thing, like the 2020 example with the saying, keep the change, which is like a person moving equivalent. Signaling when the messenger is going to move by getting rid of coins. You see, that's how this bullshit is. Removing money is a danger because it's hidden society, cashless. You ain't got nothing to prove that you got cash. They just take your money away like that. At least with something tangible, it's difficult. All others, to keep the change things like the equivalent of 2020 is the same kind of bullshit, All other stupid things like this, attempt to remove paper money, idiotic changes, are all related to the 2020 type example. I know that many will say that these number theory explanations are crazy, but you can't prove them wrong. Just because a bunch of people say it isn't, this doesn't hold up in a court of law. Is only hearsay that lacks any scientific proof. It's basically non-provable because you can't really prove it either way, basically. Now a brief explanation of 2021 year, and I will stop after that, as I am not going to explain the whole system, as that is other people's jobs to do so that they can reform their candy ass, is what's needed. Because people are too freaking scared to do anything, and allow good people to get hurt and die. Expect in 2020 that due to the 21 part that people will start this two over one crap. That is, they do it work, play, and all aspects of life, and is indeed most likely responsible for many of the main mass killings of the recent decades. What this entails is people sticking together over someone else. Yeah, two people over one. Again, the goofy number system and all this shit. It doesn't take other people's feelings in consideration and follows through with his job until it's past the point of breaking. So no matter, and this 2 or 1 thing is no matter if someone is right or not. Happens to me. I do like, I got all the facts, the whole dictionary of facts. So yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, but this other person concurs. Yeah, you're wrong. This is a big danger and is the reason why people get killed. It really is. It's a good reason to why they get killed. Imagine you're right, yet two people are sticking together regardless of anything and saying you're wrong. You can see the implications of this, can't you? I mean, I hope you can. Otherwise, must have had a lobotomy at one time before. If someone loses their job over this and gets pissed off and gets a weapon and tries to settle the score. This 201 thing is not static, as after one person gets ganged up on, then that one and someone else do this to someone else. See, it's a vicious cycle. Instead of the person say, become an advocate, this is wrong, they just go on to the next person and screw them or say, well, I got screwed. Well, hey, little baby, stop it here, like, let's stop it here. I mean, there's a basis for it, because then you get screwed, But somebody's got to stop it. This starts a runaway chain reaction, so in short, expect that it's possible, not saying this, to turn out this way, as this theory works in reverse, too, where people help one another. I mean, there is a positive side to it. But a lot of this, some of it's like helping for evil, that's like two people helping a convict, somebody rotten, not a convict, but somebody rotten, to where they go out and do even more rotten things. I mean, that's not positive. So 2021 could have a lot of mass type killings and confrontations. A side note to this 20 and 21 thing is that this principle of using numbers and physical symbolism is in no way limited to just numbers. Case in point is the global warming caused by the CO2 mythology. Now it seems that climate change is real, but attributing to CO2 appears to be pure fantasy. Now CO2 does contribute to global warming, but physically speaking, it basically can't be the major culprit. And it probably only a very minor one. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I got something written about that later on, but it's hard to believe that CO2 could even have any effect. Really. That's my conclusion of, really it's water is the whole key. And I did a section written later on about that, is one of the big things. So why would top scientists make this up? Well, the first layer of lies has to do with carbon dioxide structure. It is a straight linear molecule. So what, you say, right? Well, in using this, it signals to the world that anyone with religious powers will have to live live a straight life in their country or elsewhere. Or else, so this is physical attributes of a molecule being used in a signaling device. You know, I mean, I could do that to another person. Some person that lives like a nun or a priest or something, like, you know, when I'm talking to them, there's a big tank of carbon dioxide and I'm hitting it and acting dumb and stupid. Well, you know, suppose you didn't know they're a priest or a nun. You know that they're straight. You could put two and two together and assimilate what's happening. Anything with goofy behavior in it is a red flag, you know, and there could be something to it. Now, I mean, there could be other things to it, but yeah, well, you could factor out what these other things are, you know. Maybe the person's a blowhard and they like, you know, expel a lot of carbon dioxide when they're blabbering their mouth. That could be it too. But then maybe they're real quiet, so you can factor that out, right? So that's what I'm getting at, and that's why, again, instead of climate change, we're revolving on stupid-ass shit, you know. And this is why mankind system is doomed, as it puts physical and numerical symbolism ahead of people's well-being. Again, I said this over and over again. So on to after 2020, an extremely pivotal year. But one more thing, well, these scientists will bullshit about this global warming because they want funding, you know. Now that they put us in the CO2 direction, now they're starting to say water. I mean, NASA's come out and say that water is more. Like I said, I wrote a thing about this later on. If you burn fuel, you always have two more molecules of water than even carbon dioxide. So that right away, and these carbon dioxide and water, like these ideal gases, they're about should act almost the same. So really, it's there's two more molecules. There's a lot more global warming. So that is, you know, it's all about funding instead of issue. You know, money, safety, the environment, they don't mix, and people's well-being, they just don't mix. You know, unless you have some kind of way of making them mix, but this world doesn't. It has very little controls on what the hell people can do. So getting back to 2020, it's an extremely pivotal year. I wrote much of my video presentations quite a while back, before I did any checking up on current events. I had no internet for a long time. Before I read anything about global warming of very recent vintage, I made, you know, except for the library, you know, and things like that, I made the claim that water was the major and basically the culprit of climate change, global warming. Yes, global warming based on CO2 is a myth. It really is mythology, in my opinion. Sure enough, when I did an investigation, I saw things that, you know, getting back to the same thing I'm saying. I'm reading this paper, but sometimes I'm going over stuff again because it's written in my paper. So NASA even claims that water is the major cause of global warming. They say 60% or something of it. I don't know. I would think even more of it. I'm not sure. Like, it's hard to believe that it could. I'm based my logic later on in another section of my video. Even a kid in high school chemistry class could see that carbon dioxide would be extremely unlikely to cause climate change to any significant degree. It's not that hard, so then to the symbolism part. Water is a bent molecule that is not straight, like CO2. So now after 2020, remember what was said about the year 2020? That it symbolizes the R chart and 2020 vision, which in turn is a signal to the world to either see or not see where a negative outcome is needed. There's see or not see when you want, you know, a negative outcome. To use that as a negative outcome to do something to somebody. But it has to do, and it refers to people with religious powers. And in this way, authorities can screw them over using this goofy symbolism by turning the other cheek when they need help. I explained that before about the 2020 thing, you know. They're getting beat to death and, I can't see you, the 2020 thing. You know, everybody follows that, then they go to a new year, and now it starts a new shit, you know. So now after 2020, using the symbolism that water is not straight, symbolizes that these people will not get support by crooks or crooked authorities. Crooks are not straight, right? CO2 is straight, like the authorities, you know? Just like the water molecule. I mean, water molecule is not straight. Instead of, crooked authorities, they get crooked authorities instead of the proper authorities. That is why NASA and other scientific entities are all of a sudden confessing to the real truth that a little kid could have approved in 8th grade or less science project. This sounds crazy, but it is the way the system is. It isn't me being crazy, just I'm interpreting the hidden ways and crazy ways of mankind's system. Remember at the beginning I told you got to abstract out. Pretend I am the craziest person in the world, whatever. But you look at these facts or things for what's been said. If not, so what? Keep my personality, or somebody else's personality, or mention the alien thing, whatever. That's from their viewpoint. Keep them out of it. Let's look at the facts. Forget the crazy stuff. You know, leave the crazy shit to Bellevue Mental Hospital or something. You know, like. Let's do this way. You know, if I'm proven wrong, then then that's the end of it. You know, this is impossible to prove. System isn't the way. Isn't this way either? And this use. Wait. Yeah. Well, it's an impossible proof system isn't this way either. I don't know why it's got, well, that line there is, anyway, forget that last line. And this use of these types of symbolisms have interfered with God's message by allowing human intervention into the successor to Jesus' life. Sure, it is okay to use this symbolism to control certain individuals, such as controlling and finally extinguishing the Antichrist or other evil entities. But the flip side is not doable. That gets people in a lot of trouble. The flip side is not doable. You can extinguish the Antichrist, but the other side of extinguishing somebody like Jesus is not. Why people have such a problem ridding themselves of evil once and for all is this. It's one of people's biggest flaws is they think being good and religious means that these type of people are enforcers of mamby-pamby laws and policies, such as stealing a couple of extra napkins from a fast food restaurant dispenser to use to wipe their baby's mouth at home, or that religious people have to hide all their flaws. I mean, these are ridiculous things they concentrate on, which really is like being a liberal, and I mean not a liberal, an atheist, because you're just giving them, anybody's that stupid, you're just giving the opposition the proof they need to say, yeah, that's stupid. And it is. I mean, even a non-atheist like myself believes, that's stupid. So that is not what religious people should be about, mamby-pamby little things. But this is how religious people many times get. When it affects things, it is actually a blasphemy of God's ways, as it's like worrying about whether your clothing is crumpled while the ship you're on is sinking, while being in shark-infested waters in the mid-ocean. So those not all dressed perfectly and not following every mamby-pamby law, justifiably ignorable ones, balk at helping to move evil from the world, as they extrapolate out in their minds that once all the evils are removed, then they are going to start on all my flaws or someone else's flaws next. And as I think they weren't going to let Hitler get any further because they're worried about him. Once they get rid of all these other homophobes and all this other stuff, homo thing and Jews and all that, they're going to start on them. Start on the German people, which he probably would have done. So that's the same kind of theory, only a different way here. It is a very valid concern about this, as we see this over and over again with this legal system. As for example, first they want you to have a state ID, next the real ID, next is your whole life story database with your real ID, next is the microchip. Thus finally you really pay homage to people's candy ass that you don't even know nor are involved with in any way. And that's why people go on rampages against the government and other things, is because the organizations, because they're dealing with people that don't even know them, don't have anything to do with them, are making king and queen decisions over them, And the people in the 11 seats of the 12 musical chairs only got there by luck. What I mean by that is the 11 people, seats of the 12 musical chairs are these people in power. They got there by just because they were able to, not because it was an all-eternity thing, where they're supposed to be. So they had little to do with the status of, they had little to get to the status of king or queen, as they were in charge at the right time when people's rights were taken away. And ditto for those that inherit their family's wealth, is they did basically nothing for it except maybe having to brown-nose their rels, which is relatives. I encounter this all the time where someone that just lucked into their overseer position in life, since they were in the right place at the right time, gets all cocky, smiley, and acts as if their position in life is one of a god. I am sure that things like this behavior infuriate many people, even to the point of violence. From a psychological and scientific standpoint, this idea of using those in control to force other people into a cage should be dealt with by the court system, as this is a major concern to mass killings. Getting off this important topic, the message is clear. Mankind's system of using numerical and other physical symbolism needs to die. Not people dying, but this goofy, dopey system, and I stress the word dope, really, because that's what we're trying to get at. Everybody wants to be doped up. This dopey system has barely kept the peace and is an impediment to mankind's future. Alright, I'm going to kind of hurry up here because I'm getting really sore and standing, and I want to get this over with. This will be the first half of all my video series. So the next topic, they got something on somebody, and it is and has been being used to tweak this world. From indirect facts, it is obvious that the USA has something on somebody, and that somebody is Jesus' successor. It's not just anybody, but not limited to, but the most important thing is Jesus' successor. The something part has to do with some sort of institutionalization of some kind. For example, prison, nut house, court record, etc. How can I tell this? Well, I can but only via indirect and other evidence. The gun craze, trying to make weapons illegal, mass killings, background checks, going to the extreme of needing a background check to have ammo. That's California there. I know how this left-wing theory thing works, in that they keep moving layer after layer of constitutional protections a citizen has until we're at the mercy of the system. We sent the entire we sent the entire 1776 revolution and fantastic constitutional document down the drain in recent decades. It used to be, I think it used to be a game commercial on TV a long time ago. Down the drain, get set, we're going down the drain, and that's what this thing, we deep six the Constitution, and that's where things are going, exactly. So anyhow, once they remove weapons from people, then they can concentrate on other things and keep pressing and pressing until someone explodes. The left-wing party needs to rethink its policies and controls on how much they can do, how far they can go, and what limit of personal freedoms they can interfere with. I could say the same thing about the right wing too. The left's take on having people live like caged animals really entices people to want to go out and buy guns, and from that standpoint, who could blame them? You know, I am in no way an advocate of guns gone wild, but only believe in them when they're used for self-defense or as a short sport or hobby or as stated in a constitutional context. This whole exploration of retarded left and right-wing ideals as a result of holding Jesus' successor hostage. Since using this technique, organizations and people can get whatever they left and that is they being left and right wing, yeah, they get whatever they want simply because the world's fate rests in the USA's hands. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, world, but that's what it is. The second messenger has returned, and that's the bottom line. There is no other shit, and that's why the USA uses that as a crutch. You get little baby USA gets whatever it wants because they're using that as like a hostage situation, like the 1976 Olympics. And that's why we had all these hostage things. Iran cutting people's heads off. And not exactly they just went out and they did that. They did it because of this reason. It has to do with God. Everything has to do with religion. Because that shows the people that the United States is holding someone hostage. That's what that is. It's like the 2020 thing, etc. Why is the 20... Why is this 2020 election thing taking place and all other crazy events? The answer is that Jesus' successor has returned and is being used as a pawn in an infinitely deadly chess game. And yous are going to pay the price for those in control. That is for their being those in control and those making problems. You're going to pay the price for their behavior. So you are not just a passive observer, but your own active self-induced victim. Yeah, self-induced, that's important. You're doing it yourself. And this gets back to the whole thing in the Bible. One of the most important things is about, I'm going to give your share to somebody else, and that's the same exact story. I mean, you're not going to escape through this and let people get killed and maimed and everything. Your share is going to somebody else. And with a perfect God, it's fair. With imperfect people who are biased, it's not fair. That's why, again, people have to get away from this, their God, and realize they're human beings and handle it in a whole different way. All these hostage-taking events, example, Olympics, terrorists, have nothing to do with terrorists just getting up one day and saying, let us go get some hostages, but are due to this religious hostage taking of Jesus' successor, which is something the whole world knew about, just the same as they knew Jesus was coming about 1,000 years before he was born, and probably since the first caveman. I have been just repeating what I said before. It bears repeating, but because I'm kind of ad-libbing and reading at the same time, so that'll help you get through the gist of these important things anyway. So any explanation as to why the world is the way it is ultimately has to do with Jesus' successor and anyone else or of message or status that may come, and nothing else. Actually, I should say that really that It does not have to do with Jesus' successor. It has people doing retarded shit and blaming it on Jesus' successor. Jesus' successor and other people like him, they just bring the way things are, and people go out and do all this harm and stuff and then think, well, they got entitled to it. Well, they're not. It's to do with people. Never blame God and God's messengers. It's people in this world are going to take responsibility. If not, they don't do it by themselves, then they're going to have to do it forced. That's all. And the question, and it has nothing to do with me or anybody else, it has to do with what's going to happen. You know, things way beyond anybody's control, including mine. And the question lingers, who are the terrorists, as it is not only the terrorists, but all the people as well. But people don't want to stop using or following religious people as excuses to continue their bizarre behavior and their warped perception of reality. Why? Basically, it boils down to this. Without religious people to be a hidden source of excuses to do goofy behaviors, then people will not be able to do all the outrageous things that they do. And thus, basically, life for people would get much more boring, at least in their distorted perception of reality. A reasonable and more boring system is better versus people roaming around with unstable, unpredictable, retarded, world-ending behavior. So on to the next topic. I got 2 more to go here before I finish up for this half of this video presentation. The conspiracy theory label. Oh, this is a good one, because what Trump did was create all this thing about conspiracy theory, and so people could go with these videos like I'm making, they just ignore them. Because now the trend is, like on some of these videos, like, yeah, they're going to go, short videos and conspiracy theories are going to be punished. And that's what Trump did it for. It was to squelch the message. It's always that way. You know what's coming. You know there's some kind of message coming out of the message. You know it. Just like this thing is, I'm doing my expose. Well, simultaneously, there must be something else or something coming out. You know it. These negative things are all signaling devices. Everybody knows what's happening. So the conspiracy theory label, they're probably label crazed. There probably ain't no venue in society that is shrouded in cover-ups and misrepresentations of the truth. This crap to label everything as a conspiracy theory when there's something that someone does not want to hear or that jeopardizes their illicit activities has become rampant. And is used by people in high places all the time, so that the cloud of suspicion that surrounds their own activity remains intact. Again, like I said, about drug addicts, they do stuff ahead of time before you get there to make you all look like some kind of weirdo, so they can get away with whatever, you know. The anti-conspiracy advocate operates on the premise that all attempts beyond the obvious to explain complex human events are futile, as there could be nothing under the surface to demonstrate that something else is going on. But wait, that means that anti-conspiracy theory is actually conspiracy theory in itself, as it says that conspiracy theory advocates are banding together to form a conspiracy theory against anti-conspiracy theory people in an effort to fool them in the public. That's hilarious and funny. I must admit that there are many crazy conspiracy theories out there. Example, like George W. Bush is a leather-necked alien. We never landed on the moon. Well, that one does have a extremely remote possibility to it. To get out of the Russians, we could have faked it, but that sounds like almost preposterous. The JFK thing, I think that's probably, there's some kind of cover-up with that. I'm almost convinced there's a conspiracy theory that's true. What's some of these other crazy ones? There's people living on the moon and Mars, and that's kind of wacko. Anyway, so getting back to this, but many conspiracy theories aren't totally off the wall. Like I said, JFK assassination is one. As why would they wait 50 years to disseminate report on his death? That's a red flag. Just like the Trump thing with the Wuhan laboratory. Why wouldn't you say it right now? You know, and be a hero. As far as payoffs and many other things are basically everyday occurrences. and not conspiracy theories. The word conspiracy theory should be replaced by the plan. As basically all things in the world revolve around a plan. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a lot of these things happen are a plan. I should maybe say all these things that happen are a plan are not a conspiracy theory, because everybody knows that. You know? Take the Republicans' bogus claim that they are somehow protecting the rights of people, when their bottomless pit of military and security spending puts us all closer to residency in a FEMA camp and not a path to freedom. Yeah, everything the Republicans do is just like, you know, they spend like almost $768 billion or something on military. I mean, that's outrageous. And all other countries too. All the same. You know what? You want something one world? Well, all people should start. Women, everybody, stop complaining about all this money we're wasting on the military and not handling issues. You know, we don't need a one world government. That should be just standard operating procedure. You know, get all these Russian women or something involved. You know, they're pretty tough. You know, hey. And all these other countries got to start focusing on this military. But we're building up to a World War III status. We really are, because a lot of companies got nukes and everything. So anyway, the media is a brainwashing plan. Some would say conspiracy theory, as if you look at close enough, you can see things, see trends. For example, one must be a two-order family. We're surrounded by sexual predators. Money is the last word on all issues. And the authorities are always the good guys and gals, while everyone else is wrong, no matter what. I mean, these are kind of extreme, because I know that they do cover it, but the general trend is for all this bullshit. See, that's the subtle part of it. That's even better than, you know, you're not realizing that you're being brainwashed, you know. Because the majority of stuff is that, and there's the lesser stuff is something else. See, so it is really seeping in. It's a little tricky tactic. And also, they try this. There are lone wolf people out there wanting to get us. And the masculine is always at fault, as they were born a carnival freak from carnival freaks, and that those around them were perfectly innocent, even when, in many cases, they did everything to step on the perpetrator's last nerve, and the list goes on. Yeah, actually, I think they had one of the coolest breweries. Some black guy shot 5 people. I bet you they were probably riding him, you know, all the way to Green Bay and shit, you know. I mean, they were probably riding him, you know, just probably, maybe he was kooky, you know. I mean, that's the thing. A kooky person can get through life if they're not bothered. But if they're bothered, you know, it's just like a rubber band that might snap. So they're saying that he's kooky, but, you know, they're the ones pushing him over the top, probably. I'm assuming, you know, I don't know nothing about the case. I just know what the results were. Because I know watching people's behavior over and over again, you know, they're like, ooh, no, we didn't do that, no, yeah, ooh. But, yeah, bullshit. He did. So these subtle underlying themes are detectable. I'm talking about the media thing again. Most people don't think they're brainwashed. All things mankind does are part of a plan, same as conspiracy theory, except maybe not so extreme sometimes. This whole 2020 election is nothing more than a plan to be broadcasting information about religious people. And ditto for all history of mankind. Because people think they got their little God and they got their little niche and they're going to do what they want, and yet they're going to expose this their religious people wrecking everything positive. So, for example, Trump's staying sequestered in the White House for 5 days, exactly like jury duty, hints at the possibility of using, hints at the possibility by left-wing control freaks to expose Jesus' successor's past, making him divulge details of him about himself. Would, like, a past that was fabricated by people and has been used to stop them. Example, make up that person has a prison record, and then use this as a control to beat down any positive strides the person gets. How I know this is by indirect evidence that was gleaned from society, and my personal experiences suggest this. All the world knows about what is really going on in this world, and also people are in the know about what is actually a conspiracy theory, but they farm out the info over long periods. Why? It's to create jobs and new opportunities. I'm not saying this is totally bad, but when the principle outweighs its usefulness and becomes a planetary extinction device, then Houston, we have a problem. People must be the one, or else they will F up the whole planet in the process of having tantrums over the fact that they are not the one. And that's this dynamic world we get into all the time does just that. You know, they're crying that they're not the one, so they make everything like all this pressure and all this other BS. It happens all the time. The last topic here, my topic here is people are put on stage to prove the opposition point. The amount of people this is important here. The amount of people that our system uses to play the role of the clown is staggering. Reputable people love these BOZO the clown people as it helps them legitimize their own venues. Organizations are the same way, as they love to put some moron on stage to prove their point. One example I always say is about television show Cops, as they usually have people, or perpetrators, on there that are perfect stereotypical examples of crackheads living in a crackhead neighborhood. It makes it look like cops are always up against some lowlife that should be living in a FEMA camp instead of being out in the street. Take that Kevin Trudeau character. Now, Mr. Trudeau does actually have some valid points. One being Big Pharma using drugs instead of trying to cure things naturally, not to mention bleeding our pocketbooks, most likely. Dry. Big Pharma bleeds, there's so many resources in that, it's incredible. It's like the military. And maybe more than the military, I'm not sure. And this usage of what they don't want you to know about is a totally appropriate statement. I know I read his book. You know, he does got some good points in there. Amazingly, I was surprised that he did have some good things in there. So anyway, however he's being used to play the clown, as probably no one takes him seriously, and this proves the government's point that Big Pharma is right, and that he and all others, the natural healers, are wrong. He was sent to prison for about 11 years, to the best of my knowledge, for not paying taxes. I don't know, it was taxes, I think it was, or going against the government's rule. It might be that. I'm not sure. Against the rule, they want him not to publish something, and he did. I don't know. But anyway, that pales in comparison to how much Big Pharma wastes on drugs that should not even be allowed to be sold. If one had an injury and was on SSDI, it would probably be one whale of a battle to get benefits. If Big Pharma had, it's whatever it needs. All right, that's the end of the whole half of this my video series here, and I covered a lot. And, I'm not sure all of it came across perfectly assimilatable. But if you go back over it and, look at the topics, hopefully I might improve these someday or not. I have no idea. Because I might just say, yeah, that was it. There's not, you don't get these videos, they're very difficult to get any kind of audience with all the stiff competition. And what did it is this Trump did this on purpose, so nobody can, none of these topics like this will not get covered. I said, it's a plan. Everything in this world, there's some important statements. One of them is everything is a plan. The other one is it's all about religion. And the basic one is everything is all about religion, really. Once we put the nail in the coffin on that, I mean, what is actually going on, then things will change. Actually, the whole society can change overnight. But they want martyrs like me and other people, and some dopey characters that even, that are like, you need dopey characters as a supporting cast, because no prominent person will support you. So the person that tries to do anything like this is always surrounded, or like the second messenger has come, would be surrounded by drug addicts, people doing dumbass shit. The thing is they're all making a little commentary, and they're taking themselves right out of it because they're not doing nothing. You being a little smart ass nowadays is the worst. That's another thing. This is the worst time. They're looking at, let's see, maybe I can draw this out before I quit here, Let's see here. I got, get rid of this here. We got here. Got here. There. We're not doing an open facto job here. Right here. Now we should probably pause the video, right? But anyway, I'm not, because I'm tired and so, but I mean, like, this is, this is all of mankind, and this is us here, or whatever, actually should be over there, but, this I guess would be considering mankind. We're right here, but we're forgetting this is like millions of years, probably, This little segment here is this is us today, and that's not the U.S. That's us. That's people. Us people. That's us here. We're just like excluding this whole. Like we just came. Not only that we. Not only the thing is that people think they created their own universe. But this is us. This is all that, that's all that matters, and nothing else. We just disregard all the rest. They're not considering that this, all this up to that point is all this process of getting people to a good point, which we're not at. We're really at a precipice of the opposite here. It's like the opposite of that in that movie, The Day the Earth says, but still we're not in any kind of good precipice, we're on the wrong precipice. This is all this behavior as a process of getting people to a good point. This is, the caveman. This is, this is time here. Time. There's events. All these events going all this time here and all this millions of years. Millions of years. That whole, part right here. That's millions of years, and mankind just actually just walked on the scene, created the universe, and that's it. They're forgetting that this is all a religious process here, and just ignoring it today. And that's why it's so deadly. That's what I'm saying. This is the worst possible. You just ignore it as the worst possible time to do it. Because actually, I should draw this like this is the top. You know, this is the precipice. The precipice of mankind is right here. We're at the precipice, and people are screwing around like they're a little, goofball, acting dumb and nutty and shit, like they're the one or something. They're the end. When they're not, just ignoring all that God did all this for us to try to get us to form. Because God is not gonna, I wish God would make everybody robots and do what they need to do until they're trained. But God is not going to do that. It's called free will. There's the joy of free will. If we are robots, it will be boring. Perfection is boring. Perfection. And all this was done for us here to try, and God has been little signposts all along, little signposts all along the way. Don't do this. This is from basic everyday behavior. You don't need the Bible because everyday behavior, you start realizing that things aren't accidents and they happen for a reason. It's just like I have a relationship with God, and it occurred over time, and you realize that all these little things are mean something. People laugh at like goofy occurrences, but when you look at that's like the Revelation. It sounds so corny, the book in the Bible. But then when you see something, you realize it fits into the pattern, that's like me describing a whole place or something, and then every little thing happens, or events or something, everything little thing happens, then it really was true. That's what the Bible is a lot about. But we're just ignoring this whole, whole lead-up time from the caveman, Adam and Eve on. All these wars, everything. And that is costly. People are really going to regret it that don't take this seriously. I mean, the thing is people nowadays, they are very serious, and they do walk around, but it's not a serious, it's a kind of a serious that just, what do you call that, the curmudgeon, or it's a seriousness that causes a lot of tension and anger and tension. It's not to do with somebody seriously like concentrating on something to get something done. It's an aggravating serious to be, that kind of serious. It serves no purpose but to aggravate other people and to make a very tense world. And that's why I try to joke around, but it doesn't. You know what? People are all just like they're really crying. But guess what? There's more crying to do, because the more you keep doing that, the worse it's going to get. I think this one needs to lighten up a little bit. And I'm talking about lighten up, making fun and being aggravating other people, and mean to joke around a little bit. When I was a kid, we used to joke around. They used to say, "I'm going to kill you" all the time. So nobody did nothing. Nobody took it seriously. Like now, everything is like this big moment. Again, that gets back to why, because the godly thing is that it is. Another thing is Europe is important because the Antichrist is there. That's why Brexit happened. 2016, all the way Europe unionized. They always get the whole world around the Antichrist, which I said before is like a wave guide. An Antichrist is somebody that can follow and just, it's hidden. They don't have to do anything, like they just interact with it and then they keep going on. And that's what 2016 is. And now we're going to this court thing. After 2016, they disbanded Europe. So now that's signaling to everybody else in the world that we're going to start with the state and court stuff where everybody got their own little way when they don't. We're starting to go extreme the other way. I could tell by what's happening. I could tell. If your town had a court and it moved and all of a sudden they're putting a new one in, it was the unionized part is the police part of it. Like that's anytime you're lumping everything together, that's a police like type of rule. You know, everything's under one umbrella. Now we're going with this court thing, and this would cause a lot of trouble because people start thinking they have this court where they start extending themselves beyond their own world into other people's rights, where they can do whatever, just what they want, you know. See, so one is smothering you to death is the police type of system, and the other is the court, where everybody's the Wild West or something. We're going to be shooting each other up. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's what 2016 is. Now we're reversing polarity and starting with this court thing. And voila, Trump was voted in 2016. One of these rich business owners, they're court people. They're always in the court, so they've got like dominion in the court, are given precedence. That's why anything, something happens to me, oh, no, go to the court. You see? It takes away my court rights because all these idiots follow, you know, this idiotic following. And that's what Trump was. The Antichrist needs to be stopped, and it's Europe, and it's lucky Europe isn't a pile of Swiss cheese. Actually, like some of these Europeans making comments about us in the United States. Hey, you got the Antichrist, you need to be making comments about your damn, you know, your damn person, whatever. And it's probably not like in Germany, or especially because Hitler was there, because he was probably having a crybaby attack that they weren't going to have the Antichrist and the Nazis all together. It's probably some, you know, small country, unknown country. They always do that. It's part of the plan or the cover-up, you know, to be born. This is all biblical. It's all in the Bible. And that's what this is all about. Europe is the key to the Antichrist, where it's supposed to be born. The United States is the second coming of the messenger, and it's supposed to be born because anybody would not be a genius to figure out the United States is almost a shoe-in to where this person's going to be born, because you got all these countries in one place that all came together to be one. That would indicate somebody that's doing something good, you know, like race. What the hell does that mean? Not much. I mean, you know, skin color doesn't probably mean that much. Even probably, you know, genetics will prove that probably. But although it could have some, you know, I don't know, could have some bearing on some things. But and that's where the Bible says the woman that has spilled the blood of the saints, and Babylon the Great, you know, that sits on many waters. The United States is that sits on many waters, and they're the one that sold the messenger, second messenger to come out. People like me are on the siege because they sold it out for this, and that's why white people are always like, they say it's a white man's world. It's not. It's skin color has nothing to do with it. But since Jesus is white, and the next messenger is white, and these people in the Antichrist is white, they're thinking that, I don't know why God did it that way, you know. It would have been better if it was a black man or something, or somebody else, to show that this race thing, maybe it's like a test, you know, a test of your character. Because you just keep putting white people, then people are just going to start getting angrier and angrier. But there are white people that are more black than black people, and there's more white and black people are more white than white people. I mean, look at Michael Jackson. I mean, you would say he would have been a perfect example of somebody as white as snow, probably, you know. I mean, I was guesstimating, but looking at him and all the things he did. I'm not saying anything bad about it, it's just that that's what we guess, you know. So anyway, I'm getting real sore and I'm getting real tired, and I went way over the limit here. But I hope you take all my information, and somebody, if just one person, as that movie by Ryan's Express, where the British guy is on the back of the train, and he says, as you always said, Bob Ryan, if one man escapes, it's a victory. Well, if one person, doesn't have to be a man, one person does something good with this, you know, it only gets snowball. So, in the words of the Terminator, it could become a geometric progression, but this time a good one instead of a bad one. So, That's it. I'm out of wind. I'm very sore. Thank you, and God bless for any good person and bad people. I'm not sure I could wish them, but hopefully this will help them turn things around, and I can wish them good or whatever. Or, you know, sometimes it pays good to wish people if you don't like or whatever. So anyway, thank you very much, and God bless, and goodbye.
This image represents all the crap coming at you. The average person these days has their plate full. COVID-19, climate change, a new countrywide arms race, oppressive organizations, the Antichrist has returned, and citizens run amok. And there is even more logs on the fire than ever before. The time for reform is now. All of humankind is at the precipice called Armageddon. Missing the boat on this one is not an option. Stay tuned for more of the only realistic unmasking of the world as to how it really operates, and for more real solutions to all the world's problems once and for all. So again, stay tuned as our Cape Crusaders in this world get unmasked one by one. But can the world survive without unknown do-gooders? This is the System Unmasked channel signing off until next time, at the same bad channel, at the same bad time.